So the other alternative for rival costs is if you're vertically integrated. Again, that means you're up and down the value chain of your product. And in this case, there are two strategies within this approach. One is vertical foreclosure. Foreclosure sounds scary and powerful, and it is. This is where we charge downstream rivals a very high price, so their input price rises, and therefore they become a very costly substitute, and therefore they go out of business. So let's say we have a monopoly, let's say, just to make it extreme, for a required component. So our rivals can buy it at this inflated price, again, making us have a very strong cost advantage, or they will have to find a substitute. And if that component is so good and cost effective, any substitute they choose will be less effective than our product. So therefore, vertical foreclosure at a higher level, kind of at the supply level, will preempt the ability for someone to compete with us on the downstream product. The second is, also sounds quite painful. It's called a price cost squeeze. And that means that we do both a squeeze at the top as far as increasing the input cost to our competitors, and we also do a squeeze at the bottom at the actual product level where we lower the price. So we lower the price of the end product, we raise the cost of the input item, and therefore we're doing a simultaneous squeeze on our rival. The other idea is price discrimination as a strategic tool. You remember, price discrimination means we somehow can discern and separate the various people that comprise the market. And if we can find a way to target our competitors' customers and not touch our own, that would give us power. And that's what this bullet point below shows. So that means that if we're able to engage in price discrimination, such as targeting our rivals' customers, then we either take away their business or make those accounts they win at a very low price, therefore less profitable to them. We're mitigating the effects of the limit pricing lowered profits. And that's a tool of price discrimination, which you can see can be used in combination on any of the other prior strategies. We have the idea of first mover advantage. And we all hear this all the time. It means you're the first one in, and therefore you have the first opportunity to control the marketplace. The effect of this from a game theory standpoint is it changes the time frame. So if there are two potential entrants in a business and somehow you get to market first, you have the first mover advantage. And therefore you change it to a sequential move, which gives you an advantage. One of the most vivid examples of this that I've seen is in airline business. There was a time when there was a company called Lockheed. You don't even know it anymore. But Lockheed had developed or was developing a very good airplane for passenger travel called the L-1011. And another company, McDonnell Douglas, was rushing to market to be the first mover. McDonnell Douglas got in first and therefore succeeded commercially in selling a lot of airplanes. Now in time, it became a sad fact that the L-1011 was very safe. The engineering was really, really good. And the McDonnell Douglas was not. They had a couple of design flaws that actually caused some airline accidents. And that shows that in that case, they skirted a little bit on the quality of the product to get it out first. They won commercially, but they lost in the long run because their product fell out of favor for good reason, and they eventually exited the market. And who survived when that wasn't fighting here? It was Boeing, right? So Lockheed and McDonnell Douglas have exited, leaving at least the domestic U.S. market to Boeing. If we look at the comparison of simultaneous versus first mover, we have firms A and B. We have these possibilities in the game. And if you look at it, there is a dominant strategy where firm A should do a low output because firm A could be at 30 if firm B chose low. It could be at 10 if firm B chose high. So it is a dominant position. There's also Nash equilibrium, and that is where A produces low and B produces high. So firm A would end up making 10, firm B would make 15. And that's not a very favorable outcome for firm A because they were hoping to make 30, and there's another outcome where they could have made 20. Now, firm B is very happy because that's the single highest payoff that they could have encountered. Let's see what would happen if somehow firm A could change it to a sequential move. In other words, if they have first mover advantage. So firm A would make the first move at high output. In that case, the choice for firm B is should they go low or high output. Look at the outcomes for B. They're saying should I make $5 or should I make 2? Oh, I think I'll make 5. And that leads B to do exactly what A wants. So in this case, we have the condition where by virtue of A moving first, we create a sub-game perfect equilibrium favorable to A. So A goes high and B chooses low, and therefore A makes 20 and B makes 5. And this is perfect for A. Now compare that to what we just saw previously, where A was looking at an equilibrium, a Nash equilibrium, where they make 10. So by becoming the first mover, they get a first mover advantage, converting the game to sequential, and they go from 10 to 20. Now there's some advantages that accrue to the second mover. And this happens because you could be a free rider on all the expenditure of time and money by the first mover and watch and learn, and your entry then is done with all the advantages from watching. In other words, you can lower the costs, not make the mistakes that the first mover usually makes, and therefore the second mover could be in a better position than even the first mover.